The Galactic Empire had ruled for 12,000 years. Its borders stretched across 100,000 star systems, and its fleets darkened the skies of countless worlds. Every species that rose to challenge the Empire fell. Every civilization that refused to kneel was crushed. The Empire was eternal. The Empire was absolute. The Empire had never known defeat. High Admiral Vorath stood on the command bridge of the Imperial Dreadnought Conquest, watching the stars drift past the observation windows. He was old for his species. His scales faded to pale gray, but his eyes still burned with ambition. He had conquered 17 worlds in his career. He had crushed rebellions and ended civilizations. The Emperor himself had pinned the Medal of Endless Glory upon his chest. But Vorath wanted more. He wanted to be remembered forever. "Admiral," his navigation officer called out, "we are approaching the boundary of mapped space. Sector 779. Our probes detected something unusual here 3 cycles ago." Vorath turned from the window. "Show me." The main display flickered to life, showing a cluster of stars at the very edge of the galaxy. It was a small region, perhaps 30 star systems, unremarkable in every way. But floating at the boundary was something that made Vorath lean forward with interest. Beacons. Thousands of them, arranged in a perfect sphere around the star cluster. "What are they broadcasting?" Vorath demanded. The communications officer worked at her console, her 4 hands dancing across the controls. "Admiral, the beacons are transmitting a message." The same message repeated in over 8,000 languages. Some of these languages are from species that died out before the Empire even existed. "Play it." The bridge fell silent as the message filled the air. It was simple. Just a few words, spoken without emotion or threat. "Terran territory. Entry forbidden. This is your only warning." Vorath stared at the display for a long moment. Then he laughed. The sound echoed through the bridge, and his officers shifted uncomfortably. "Terran?" Vorath said. "I have never heard this name." "Have you?" His first officer, a younger male named Kesseth, checked the Imperial database. "No records, Admiral. The name Terran does not appear in any of our histories. There is no species by that name in our archives. And yet they claim territory at the edge of our galaxy," Vorath mused. "They build warning beacons in 8,000 languages. They tell the mighty Galactic Empire where it may and may not travel." He turned to face his crew, his eyes bright with hunger. "This is exactly what I have been waiting for. Some primitive species hiding at the edge of known space, pretending to be powerful. They probably found ancient technology, built these beacons, and hoped to scare away anyone who came looking." He smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "They did not expect the Empire." "Admiral," Kesseth said carefully, "should we not report this to Imperial Command first? Request guidance before proceeding? And share the glory of discovery?" "No." Vorath shook his head. "We will investigate ourselves. When we return with a new territory to add to the Empire, the Emperor will shower us with honors. This is our moment, Kesseth. Do not be a coward." Kesseth lowered his head in submission. "As you command, Admiral." Vorath turned back to the display. "Take us through the beacon line. Let us see what these Terrans are hiding." The conquest moved forward, its massive engines pushing it toward the boundary. Behind it, 15 other warships followed in formation. It was not a large fleet by Imperial standards, but it was enough to conquer any primitive species they might encounter. As they crossed the beacon line, something changed. The endless repetition of warnings stopped. For a moment, there was only silence. Then a new message came through. Warning acknowledged. Choice recorded. The communications officer looked up, her face pale. "Admiral," the message came from inside the territory. From all directions at once. As if as if everything in there heard us enter. Vorath felt a chill run down his spine, but he pushed it aside. He had not conquered 17 worlds by giving in to fear. "Continue forward," he ordered. "Find their homeworld." For 3 days, the fleet traveled deeper into Terran space. Their sensors swept every star system they passed, cataloging planets and resources. What they found was strange. There were inhabited worlds, 3 of them spread across the cluster. But the technology they detected was primitive. Simple spacecraft that could barely travel between planets. Cities that used basic power generation. No orbital defenses, no military installations, no fleet of any kind. "This makes no sense," Keseth muttered, studying the sensor data. "They have the technology to build those warning beacons, to broadcast in 8,000 languages. But they live like this? Their ships are centuries behind ours." "Perhaps the beacons are ancient," Vorath suggested. "Left behind by whatever species originally lived here. These Terrans may have simply inherited them." "Perhaps," Keseth agreed, but he did not sound convinced. They approached the outermost inhabited world, a small planet covered in green forests and blue oceans. The Conquest took up position in orbit, and Vorath ordered his communications officer to broadcast a message. "Attention, inhabitants of this world. I am High Admiral Vorath of the Galactic Empire. You have been discovered. Your territory now belongs to the Empire. Surrender peacefully, and you will be treated with mercy. Resist, and you will be destroyed." They waited for a response. Minutes passed, then hours. Nothing came. "They are ignoring us," Vorath growled. "Send landing parties. I want prisoners. I want information. I want to know everything about these Terrans." Shuttles descended from the warships, carrying hundreds of Imperial soldiers. They landed near the largest city, weapons ready, expecting resistance. They found nothing. The city was empty. Every building, every street, every vehicle, all abandoned. The soldiers searched for hours, but there was no one. It was as if the entire population had simply vanished. "Admiral," the ground commander reported, "the city is deserted." But it was not abandoned long ago. There is still food on tables. Machines are still running. They left within hours of our arrival. Maybe less. Vorath gripped the arms of his command chair. They knew we were coming. They evacuated before we even entered orbit. "There is something else, Admiral. We found a structure at the center of the city. It appears to be some kind of museum." "A museum?" "Yes, Admiral. It is dedicated to something called the Silence Wars. The soldiers are inside now. They say you should see this yourself." Against his better judgment, Vorath took a shuttle down to the surface. He walked through the empty streets, past abandoned homes and silent vehicles, until he reached the museum. It was a simple building, made of white stone, with no decorations or markings. Just a single door standing open. Inside, the walls were covered with displays. Images, text, artifacts. Vorath walked slowly through the halls, reading the information presented there. The first exhibits showed the history of the Terrans. They called themselves humans, it seemed. They had evolved on a single world called Earth, in a system they named Sol. The displays showed their early history, their wars and struggles, their slow climb to the stars. But then the tone changed. The humans had not always been peaceful, the exhibits explained. In their past, they had fought wars that killed billions of their own kind. They had built weapons capable of ending all life on their planet. They had come within moments of destroying themselves, not once, but several times. And then they had reached the stars. Vorath felt his blood grow cold as he read what came next. The humans had encountered other species. They had fought them, and they had won. Again and again and again. The display showed 17 different species. Some had been great empires in their time. Some had ruled hundreds of worlds. All of them had made the same mistake. They had ignored the warnings. Each exhibit ended with the same words, carved in stone. They were warned. They chose. They are remembered. Vorath reached the final room of the museum. It was large and empty, with display cases arranged in a circle around the walls. 17 cases, each one containing artifacts from a fallen species. Memorial and warning combined. But there was an 18th case, empty, waiting. Vorath approached it slowly, dread building in his chest. A plaque was already mounted on the case, the metal freshly polished. On it was engraved the symbol of the Galactic Empire. Vorath stood there for a long moment, staring at that plaque. Behind him, his soldiers shifted nervously, their weapons suddenly feeling very small in their hands. "Admiral," Kess's voice crackled over the communicator, "we have detected movement. Something is approaching the fleet. Something very fast." Vorath turned and ran for the shuttle, but he already knew, deep in his heart, that he had made a terrible mistake. The warnings had been clear, and he had chosen to ignore them. Admiral Vorath's shuttle had barely docked with the Conquest when the alarms began screaming. Red lights flashed across every corridor, and crew members ran to their battle stations. Vorath pushed through the chaos, his heart pounding, until he reached the command bridge. "Report," he shouted. "Kess." Ite turned from the tactical display, his face pale with fear. "Admiral, we have detected a single vessel approaching from the inner system. It is small, perhaps 50 meters in length, but it is moving faster than anything in our records." "One ship?" Vorath felt a surge of relief. "We have 16 warships. One vessel is no threat, no matter how fast it travels." "Admiral, you do not understand. The ship appeared from nowhere. One moment, empty space. The next, it was there. Our sensors did not detect it until it wanted to be seen." Vorath moved to the observation window. In the distance, against the black of space, he could see a faint light approaching. It grew brighter as he watched, resolving into the shape of a spacecraft unlike anything he had ever seen. It was old. That was his first thought. The design was ancient, the hull scarred with countless marks of age and use. It looked like something from a museum, a relic from the earliest days of space travel. And yet it moved through the void with impossible grace, weaving between his warships like they were standing still. "They are broadcasting," the communications officer said. "Audio only. Should I play it?" "Do it." A voice filled the bridge. It was soft, calm, and unmistakably female. It spoke in perfect Imperial standard, without accent or hesitation. "Attention, vessels of the Galactic Empire. I am Speaker Amar Chun of the Terran Boundary Council. You have entered our territory despite our warnings. You have landed forces on our worlds. You have demanded our surrender." The small ship came to a stop, holding position directly in front of the Conquest. Vorath could see it clearly now, a vessel that should have been helpless against his dreadnought, yet somehow seemed far more dangerous. "We understand that you may not have believed our warnings," the voice continued. "Many species have made the same mistake. We do not blame you for your doubt, but you have now seen our museum. You have read our history. You know what we are capable of, and what we have done to those who threatened us." Vorath signaled his weapons officer. "Lock all batteries on that ship. Prepare to fire on my command." "Admiral," Kesseth whispered urgently, "perhaps we should listen to what she has to say first." "I have conquered 17 worlds," Vorath hissed back. "I will not be frightened by one old woman in an antique ship." But he did not give the order to fire. "Not yet. We offer you a choice. Speaker Chung continued. The same choice we have offered every species that entered our space. Leave now. Return to your empire. Report what you have seen, what you have learned. Warn your leaders that Terran territory is not to be violated. If you do this, you may go in peace. We will not pursue you. We will not seek revenge. The matter will be closed. There was a pause. When the voice returned, it was heavier, sadder. But if you remain, if you continue your aggression, if you attempt to take what is not yours, then we will be forced to show you what we truly are. And I promise you, Admiral Vorath, you do not want that. No one wants that. Not even us. Vorath stood frozen, torn between pride and fear. Part of him screamed to retreat, to take this warning seriously, to escape while he still could. But another part, the part that had driven him to conquer and destroy for centuries, refused to bend. How does she know my name? He muttered. I do not know, Admiral, Keseth replied. Our communications have been encrypted. There is no way she could have intercepted your identity. Vorath made his decision. He was High Admiral Vorath of the Galactic Empire. He had never retreated from any enemy. He would not start now. Attention, Terran vessel, he broadcast. I am High Admiral Vorath, commander of this Imperial fleet. Your threats do not frighten me. Your museum of past victories does not impress me. You face the Galactic Empire now, the greatest power this galaxy has ever known. Your primitive technology cannot stand against us. He paused, letting his words sink in. This is my counteroffer. Surrender immediately. Open your borders to Imperial forces. Kneel before the Empire, and you will be granted the honor of serving us. Refuse, and your species will be added to the list of those we have crushed. You have 1 hour to respond. Silence filled the bridge. The small ship hung motionless in the void, waiting. Then Speaker Chun's voice returned, and this time there was something new in her tone. Something that sounded almost like grief. Very well, Admiral. We had hoped you would choose differently. We always hope. But hope is not enough. The ship began to move, drifting slowly closer to the Imperial fleet. You asked how I know your name. The answer is simple. We know everything about your fleet, Admiral. We have known since the moment you crossed our boundary. We know every ship in your formation, every weapon in your arsenal, every soldier under your command. We know you have a daughter back on your homeworld, and that you have not spoken to her in 12 years. We know your Emperor sent you on this mission because he considers you expendable. We know you seek glory to prove your worth, to show that you are not the failure your father believed you to be. Vorath's blood turned to ice. How? How could you possibly? We have watched your empire for centuries, Admiral. We have listened to your communications, studied your culture, learned your language. We know you better than you know yourselves. And that is why we gave you the warning. Because we knew, with near certainty, that you would ignore it. The small ship stopped again, close enough now that Vorath could see details on its hull. Strange symbols, writing in a language he did not recognize, and something else. Marks that looked like tallies, thousands of them, scratched into the metal. But we also knew there was a chance, however small, that you would surprise us. That you would look at our warnings and see the truth behind them. That you would choose peace over pride. Speaker Chun sighed. We are always disappointed, but we never stop hoping. Enough of this, Vorath snarled. You speak of watching us, of knowing us. But what do we know of you? Nothing. You hide in your corner of the galaxy. You build your warning beacons. You pretend to be powerful. But you are just one small species with a handful of worlds. The Empire spans 100,000 systems. You cannot fight us. You cannot even slow us down. You are right, Admiral. We cannot fight your entire empire. We would not want to. War is a terrible thing, and we have had enough of it to last 1,000 lifetimes. The ship's running lights flickered, and for a moment, Vara thought he saw something impossible. A shimmer in space around the vessel, as if reality itself was bending. "But we can fight you, Admiral. Right here, right now. And we can show you, and through you, your empire, exactly why our territory is forbidden. Is that a threat?" "No, it is a demonstration." The shimmer intensified. Varath watched, unable to look away, as the small ship began to glow with an inner light. Power readings on the tactical display went crazy, climbing higher and higher until they exceeded anything the sensors could measure. "What is happening?" Kesseth screamed. "Those energy levels are impossible." "All ships, open fire," Vorath commanded. "Destroy that vessel." 16 warships unleashed their weapons at once. Plasma cannons, missile batteries, railguns, energy beams. Thousands of shots converged on the tiny Terran ship, enough firepower to crack a moon. The shots never landed, spaced it around the small vessel, bending light and energy like water around a stone. Every weapon, every projectile, every beam simply curved away, missing the ship entirely and vanishing into the void. "That is not possible," Vorath whispered. "No technology can do that. No technology exists that can bend space itself." "Your technology cannot," Speaker Chun agreed. "Ours can. We learned to manipulate the fabric of reality a very long time ago, Admiral. We learned to break the laws of physics and rewrite them as we saw fit. We became gods among the stars." The glow around the ship intensified until it hurt to look at. And then we looked at what we had become. We saw the corpses of the species we had destroyed, the worlds we had burned, the civilizations we had ended. We saw ourselves in the reflection of dying stars, and we were horrified. So we stopped. We retreated. We built our boundary and our beacons, and we swore we would never become that again. Not unless we were forced. The ship turned, its weapons ports opening for the first time. "You have forced us, Admiral. And now you will see what we are. What we chose to stop being. What you have made us become again." A single beam of light erupted from the Terran vessel. It was beautiful, Varath thought distantly. Like a captured star, blazing across the darkness, thought it struck the largest ship in his fleet. The dreadnought Eternal Victory. 2 kilometers of imperial might, and the Eternal Victory simply ceased to exist. No explosion. No debris. No survivors. One moment it was there, and the next it was gone, erased from reality as if it had never been. Varath could not move, could not speak, could not think. 2,000 crew members. The most powerful warship in his fleet. Gone in less than a heartbeat. Speaker Chun's voice returned, and now it was heavy with sorrow. "That was mercy, Admiral. I fired at minimum power. I targeted your largest ship because it had the least crew relative to its size. The Eternal Victory died quickly, painlessly. They did not suffer." She paused. The next shot will not be so kind. You have 6 hours to leave our space." Afti, Imperial Palace stood at the heart of the galaxy, a monument to 12,000 years of conquest and dominion. Its towers reached toward the stars, and its halls echoed with the footsteps of countless servants and soldiers. Here, at the center of everything, Emperor Dazalon, the Undying, sat upon his throne and listened to the report from Terran space. His scales were black as midnight, polished to a shine that reflected the light of 1,000 floating crystals. His eyes were cold and ancient, having witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations. He had ruled the empire for 900 years, longer than any emperor before him, and he had done so through a simple philosophy. The empire does not bend. The empire does not retreat. The empire conquers, or it dies. "Show me again," he commanded. The holographic display replayed the recording from Admiral Varath's fleet. The small Terran ship. The impossible shield that bent space itself. The single shot that erased a dreadnought from existence. The Emperor watched without expression. Around him, his advisors and generals shifted nervously, waiting for his reaction. "One ship," the Emperor said finally. "One small, ancient ship destroyed our dreadnought." "Yes, Your Eternal Majesty," Grand General Thesic replied. He was the commander of all Imperial military forces, a veteran of 100 campaigns, and even he could not hide the fear in his voice. "Admiral Varath has retreated to the boundary of Terran space. He awaits your orders." Retreated. The Emperor spoke the word like it was poison on his tongue. "The High Admiral of my empire retreated from a single vessel. Majesty, the weapon they used. Our scientists have analyzed the recording. They say it should be impossible. The energy required to simply erase matter from existence would require more power than our entire fleet generates in a year. And yet this one small ship produced it in a fraction of a second. Impossible is a word used by those who lack imagination." The Emperor rose from his throne, his robes flowing like liquid shadow around him. "Our empire has conquered every species we have encountered. We have broken civilizations that claim to be invincible. We have crushed gods and ended dynasties. And you expect me to believe that these Terrans, hiding in their tiny corner of the galaxy, possess technology beyond our understanding? The evidence suggests. The evidence suggests nothing." The Emperor's voice echoed through the chamber. "They have one advantage. One weapon that caught us by surprise. That does not make them invincible. It makes them vulnerable." He turned to face his generals, his eyes burning with ancient pride. "Think, if they were truly all-powerful, why would they need warning beacons? Why would they offer us the chance to retreat? Why would they demonstrate their weapon instead of simply destroying our entire fleet?" Grand General Thesic frowned. "You believe they are bluffing? I believe they are afraid. They have one powerful weapon, perhaps more, but they do not have the strength to fight a true war. They hide behind their warnings and their demonstrations because they know that if the full might of the Empire descended upon them, they would fall like all the others." The Emperor returned to his throne and sat down, his claws clicking against the armrests. "Mobilize the Grand Armada. Every warship, every soldier, every weapon we possess. We will show these Terrans what happens when they defy the Eternal Empire." Thesic bowed his head. "As you command, Majesty. But I must warn you, this will take time. The Grand Armada has not been fully assembled in 3,000 years. It will require at least one cycle to gather all our forces. Then you have one cycle. Do not disappoint me, General. And Admiral Varath?" The Emperor's lips curled into a cold smile. "Varath is a coward who fled from a single ship. He's no longer useful to me. When the Armada arrives, you will take command. Varath will be given the honor of leading the first wave of attack. If he survives, he may redeem himself. If not, his failure will be forgotten." Thesic saluted and left to carry out his orders. The other advisors filed out behind him, leaving the Emperor alone in his throne room. For a long moment, Dassalan sat in silence, staring at the frozen image of the Terran ship on the holographic display. Such a small thing. Such an ancient design. And yet it had destroyed one of his mightiest vessels without effort. The Emperor did not believe in fear. He had purged that weakness from himself centuries ago. But something stirred in the depths of his mind as he looked at that ship. Something that felt almost like doubt. He pushed it aside. Doubt was for lesser beings. He was the Emperor. He was eternal. He would not be defeated by primitives hiding at the edge of the galaxy. The Grand Armada would crush them, and their territory would become just another conquest in the endless expansion of the Empire. Across the galaxy, the message spread. Ships were recalled from 1,000 different missions. Soldiers were mobilized from 100 worlds. Weapons were loaded, engines were powered, and the greatest military force in galactic history began to assemble. 10,000 warships. 5 million soldiers. Enough firepower to crack planets and boil oceans. The Grand Armada had not sailed in 3,000 years. The last species to face it had been completely exterminated, their worlds reduced to ash, their very name erased from history. They had become a cautionary tale, a reminder of what happened to those who defied the Empire. Now, the Armada would sail again, and the Terrans would learn the same lesson. Admiral Vorath received the news on the bridge of his flagship. He read the orders twice, his heart sinking with each word. He was to be stripped of overall command and placed in charge of the vanguard, the first wave. The ships that would draw the enemy's fire while the main fleet maneuvered. It was a death sentence, and everyone knew it. Kesseth approached him carefully. "Admiral, there may still be time to send a message to the Emperor, to explain what we witnessed. Surely when he understands, the Emperor understands perfectly," Vorath interrupted. "He understands that I retreated, that I showed weakness. In his eyes, that is an unforgivable sign. But the weapon they used, he does not care about their weapon. He cares about his pride. The Empire has never retreated, so he will not allow us to retreat now, even if it means destroying us all." Vorath turned to look out the observation window. In the distance, he could see the first ships of the Grand Armada arriving, their massive forms blocking out the stars. "We saw that museum," he said quietly. "We saw the 17 species who came before us. They all thought they could defeat the Terrans. They all thought their power was enough. You believe we will fail?" Vorath did not answer immediately. He thought about the empty display case with the Imperial symbol already mounted. He thought about Speaker Chun's words about hope and disappointment and the choices that led to destruction. "I believe the Terrans have seen this before," he finally said. "Many times. They know exactly what we will do because every species before us did the same thing. We are following a script they wrote thousands of years ago. Then what can we do? Nothing." Vorath shook his head. "We are soldiers of the Empire. We follow orders. We fight where we are told to fight, and we die where we are told to die. That is our purpose." The Grand Armada continued to gather, more ships arriving every hour. Word spread through the fleet about the enemy they faced, the weapon that had destroyed the eternal victory, the warnings that had been ignored. Some soldiers were eager for battle, hungry for glory and conquest. Others were silent, studying the recordings from Admiral Vorath's fleet, counting the seconds between the weapon firing and the dreadnought vanishing. Less than a heartbeat. That was how long it took for 2,000 lives to end. After one cycle, the Grand Armada was complete. 10,000 warships hung in formation at the boundary of Terran space, their weapons powered and ready. Grand General Desic took command from his flagship, the Emperor's Pride, and prepared to give the order to advance. Before him, the warning beacons continued their endless broadcast. "Terran territory. Entry forbiddens. This is your only warning." Desic smiled coldly and silenced the communications channel. "All ships," he broadcast to the fleet. "The Empire does not recognize the claims of lesser species. The Empire does not heed the warnings of those who hide in fear. Today, we will show the galaxy that no one defies us. No one threatens us. No one stands against us and survives." He raised his hand. "For the Emperor. For the Empire. Advance." 10,000 warships crossed the boundary line, their engines blazing, their weapons hot. And somewhere in the darkness ahead, the Terrans watched them come, just as they had watched 17 times before. Earth hung in the darkness like a blue jewel against black velvet. It was a small world, unremarkable compared to the massive planets and artificial megastructures of the Galactic Empire. Oceans covered most of its surface, and green continents dotted the waters in familiar shapes. This was humanity's homeworld. The place where their species had been born, had grown, had nearly destroyed itself, and had finally risen to the stars. It was the most important planet in Terran space, and it was defended by exactly 12 ships. Grand General Desic studied the tactical display with growing contempt. His fleet of 10,000 warships had crossed the Terran boundary 3 days ago, and they had encountered almost no resistance. A few warning transmissions, some evacuation ships fleeing ahead of them, but no military response of any kind. Now they had reached Earth, and this was all that stood in their way. 12 ships, he said, unable to keep the mockery from his voice. They send 12 ships against the Grand Armada. His officers laughed nervously. Admiral Varath, standing at the edge of the bridge where he had been assigned, did not laugh. His eyes were fixed on the 12 human vessels, and his expression was troubled. "General," he said carefully, "these ships are larger than the one we encountered before, and there may be more that we cannot see." "More cowardice, Admiral?" Desic turned to face him with cold amusement. "You fear 12 enemies when you command the vanguard of 1,000 ships? Perhaps the Emperor was right about you." Varath said nothing, but his hands tightened into fists. "Open a channel," Desic commanded. "Let us hear what these Terrans have to say before we crush them." The communications officer worked her controls, and a moment later, a familiar voice filled the bridge. "General Desic," Speaker Chen said, "we meet at last. I had hoped your Emperor would listen to Admiral Varath's report. I had hoped he would choose wisdom over pride. Your hopes are irrelevant, human. Your warnings are irrelevant. Your pathetic defense fleet is irrelevant. The Grand Armada has come to claim your worlds, and nothing you do can stop us." "You may be right," Chen replied calmly. "Our 12 ships cannot defeat your 10,000. If this were simply a matter of numbers, you would win easily. Then surrender. Open your borders. Kneel before the Empire, and perhaps we will show mercy." There was a pause. When Chen spoke again, her voice carried a weight of ancient sorrow. "General, do you know why we only have 12 ships defending our homeworld?" Desic frowned. "Because you are weak. Because you lack the resources to build a proper fleet. No, we have 12 ships because that is all we allow ourselves. 12 vessels crewed by volunteers who have trained their entire lives for this moment. 12 ships carrying weapons that can end star systems, held in check by the strictest codes of honor and restraint. The human ships began to move, spreading out to form a defensive line between the Armada and Earth. Long ago, General, we built fleets that numbered in the millions. We created weapons that could crack planets, boil suns, tear holes in the fabric of reality itself. We became conquerors, just like your empire. We crushed everyone who stood against us. And then we stopped. Not because we were defeated, but because we looked at what we had become. We saw the monster in the mirror, and we chose to chain it. These 12 ships are our promise to ourselves that we will never become that monster again." Desic laughed. "A touching story. But chains can be broken. Monsters can be unleashed. You admit that you once had the power to conquer the galaxy. If that is true, where is that power now?" "It never left us, General. It is still here, waiting, hoping it will never be needed again. But you have brought 10,000 warships to our homeworld. You have rejected every warning, every chance for peace. And now you force us to remember what we truly are." The 12 human ships stopped moving. Their hulls began to glow with the same inner light that Varath had witnessed before, but far brighter, far more powerful. "This is your final warning," Chen said. "Turn back now and you will be allowed to leave in peace. Continue forward, and we will defend our home with everything we have. Everything we are." Desic cut the channel and turned to his officers. "All ships, attack formation. The vanguard will advance first and draw their fire. Main fleet will follow and overwhelm their defenses. This ends today." He smiled coldly. "Let them glow. Let them threaten. When their 12 ships are burning debris, they will learn that the Empire fears no one." The vanguard moved forward, 1,000 warships with Admiral Varth at their center. Behind them, the remaining 9,000 ships of the Grand Armada prepared to strike. The 12 human ships waited dot, and then the battle began. Vorath watched in horror as the humans engaged his fleet. They moved with impossible speed, weaving between plasma bolts and missile salvos as if they could see the future. Their weapons fired in precise, controlled bursts, and every shot hit its mark. But they were not aiming to kill. "They are targeting our engines," Keseth reported, his voice shaking. "Our weapons systems. They are disabling us, not destroying us." Vorath saw it too. Ship after ship in his vanguard went dark, their propulsion systems shattered, their weapons offline. The humans were surgically crippling his fleet, leaving the crews alive but helpless. "Why?" he whispered. "They have the power to destroy us. Why hold back?" "Admiral, we are receiving a transmission from the lead human ship." "Play it." Chun's voice filled the bridge once more. "Admiral Vorath, we are giving your crews one final chance. Order your ships to power down their weapons and surrender. If you do, we will allow rescue vessels to retrieve your people. If you continue fighting, we will be forced to escalate." Before Vorath could respond, Desic's voice cut in from the command frequency. "All ships, ignore the enemy transmissions. Continue the attack. The Emperor commands it." The main fleet surged forward, 9,000 warships unleashing everything they had at the 12 human vessels. Space itself seemed to burn with the fury of their assault. The humans stopped holding back. Their ships transformed. There was no other word for it. The ancient-looking hulls shifted and changed, revealing weapons that defied description. Energy gathered around them in spiraling patterns, building to levels that should have been impossible. And then they fired, not at the Imperial ships. At the space between them, reality tore open. Holes appeared in the fabric of existence, swallowing missiles and plasma bolts and energy beams. The Imperial weapons vanished into nothingness, consumed by the wounds in space. And the humans struck back. Their weapons were precise, surgical, devastating. They did not waste a single shot. Every beam, every projectile, every burst of impossible energy found its target with perfect accuracy. Engines exploded. Weapons arrays shattered. Shield generators overloaded and died. But the crews lived. Even as their ships fell dark around them, even as the Grand Armada was reduced to drifting wreckage. The humans did not kill unless they had no other choice. Vorath watched as a human ship swept past the conquest. So close he could see the symbols carved into its hull. The same tallies he had noticed before, but now he understood what they meant. They were not kills. They were saves. Every mark represented a ship disabled rather than destroyed, a crew spared rather than killed. The battle lasted less than an hour. When it was over, the Grand Armada was broken. 8,000 ships drifted helplessly in the void, their systems destroyed, their crews alive but trapped. 2,000 had managed to retreat, fleeing back toward Imperial space with whatever speed their damaged engines could muster. Desic's flagship, the Emperor's Pride, hung motionless in the darkness, its hull scorched and its weapons silent, on the bridge of the conquest. Vorath stared at the destruction around him and felt something he had never expected: relief. "We are being hailed," Keseth reported quietly. "Put it through." Chun's face appeared on the main display. She looked tired, sad, but not triumphant. There was no joy in her eyes, no satisfaction in victory. Admiral Varath. General Desik. Your fleet has been disabled. Your weapons are destroyed. You have no way to continue this battle. Desik's voice came through the command channel, ragged with fury. This is not over, human. The Emperor will send more ships. More soldiers. We will never stop until your species is exterminated. I know, Chen replied softly. Your Emperor will not accept this defeat. He will gather his remaining forces and return. He will try again and again until either we are destroyed or he is. She paused, and when she continued, her voice carried the weight of centuries. That is why we are going to visit him. Not with weapons, not with threats. We are going to show him the truth about what we are, what he is, and what both our peoples could become if we choose a different path. You will never reach the Imperial Palace, Desik snarled. Our defenses will destroy you long before you get close. Chun smiled sadly. General, we have been watching your empire for 500 years. We have studied your defenses, your protocols, your weaknesses. If we wanted to destroy your palace, we could have done it at any time. The smile faded. But destruction is easy. It is building something better that is hard. Your emperor sent you to die here, General. He knew you could not win. He sent you anyway because his pride would not allow him to do anything else. We are going to give him a chance to make a different choice. The same chance we give everyone. The transmission ended. And in the wreckage of the greatest military fleet in galactic history, 8th Emperor Thassalan sat alone in his throne room, surrounded by shadows and silence. The reports from Terran space had arrived hours ago, and he had dismissed everyone while he processed what he had learned. The Grand Armada, destroyed. 10,000 warships reduced to drifting wreckage. The greatest military force in the history of the Empire, defeated by 12 ships. He had not slept since receiving the news. He had not eaten. He had simply sat on his throne, staring at the holographic replay of the battle, watching his fleet fall apart again and again. How is this possible? How could any species possess such power? And if they had such power, why had they not used it to conquer the galaxy themselves? The questions circled endlessly in his mind, finding no answers. A soft chime echoed through the chamber. One of his guards stepped forward nervously. Majesty, there are intruders in the palace. Thassalan's eyes narrowed. Intruders? How did they penetrate our defenses? We do not know, Majesty. Our sensors did not detect them. Our guards did not see them arrive. They simply appeared in the Grand Hall. They are asking to speak with you. The Emperor rose from his throne, his claws extending. How many? 3, Majesty. They carry no weapons. They say they come in peace. Peace. Thassalan spoke the word like a curse. They destroy my fleet and then come to discuss peace. He strode toward the door, his robes flowing behind him. Show me these intruders. Let us see what the Terrans want. The Grand Hall was the heart of the Imperial Palace, a vast chamber lined with statues of past emperors and trophies from conquered worlds. Normally it blazed with light and echoed with the sounds of courtiers and servants. Now it was empty and quiet, cleared of everyone except a ring of heavily armed guards, and in the center of that ring stood 3 humans. Thassalan recognized Speaker Chun immediately. She looked exactly as she had in the transmissions, small and old and utterly unafraid. Beside her stood a tall man with silver hair and the bearing of a soldier, and a younger woman with dark skin and calm, watchful eyes. Emperor Thassalan, Chun said, bowing her head slightly. Thank you for agreeing to meet with us. I did not agree to anything. You invaded my palace. We entered your palace. There is a difference. Chun gestured at the guards surrounding them. If we intended harm, These soldiers could not stop us. We are here because we choose to be here, just as we chose not to destroy your fleet when we had the chance. Dassalan stopped a few meters away, studying the three humans with ancient eyes. You killed thousands of my soldiers. No, we disabled your ships and left your crews alive. The only deaths in the battle came from Imperial officers who chose to destroy their own vessels rather than surrender. We regret those losses, but we did not cause them. The Emperor's claws flexed. You expect me to believe you came here to apologize? We came here to explain, to offer you a choice that no one else in your empire can give you. Chun stepped forward, and the guards tensed, but Dassalan raised a hand to stop them. Speak then. Tell me why I should not have you executed where you stand. Because you cannot execute us, Chun replied simply. And because if you listen to what I have to say, you may find a better path forward than endless war. She reached into her robes and withdrew a small device, projecting a holographic display in the air between them. This is the history of humanity, Emperor. The true history, not the sanitized version we share with outsiders. Images flickered through the display. Primitive humans hunting with stone tools. Early civilizations rising and falling. Wars that consumed nations and centuries. We were born in violence, Chung continued. Our species evolved through conflict, through competition, through the endless struggle to survive. We killed each other over territory, over resources, over ideas. We developed weapons of terrible power and used them without hesitation. The images shifted to show spacecraft, fleets, battles among the stars. When we reached space, we did not change. We carried our violence with us, spreading across the galaxy like a plague. We encountered other species and we conquered them. We burned their worlds and scattered their people. We became exactly what your empire is now. Dassalan watched without expression. You were conquerors. Why did you stop? Because we finally saw what we had become. Chen's voice grew heavy with old grief. We looked at the trail of devastation behind us, at the species we had destroyed, at the civilizations we had ended. We looked in the mirror and we saw monsters. The display showed a gathering of humans, millions of them, standing in silent witness. We held a great council. Every human who could attend came to bear witness. And together, we made a choice. We would stop. We would retreat to our original territory. We would build our warnings and our boundaries, and we would never again become the conquerors we had been. A nice story, Dassalan said coldly. But you kept your weapons. Your power. If you truly wanted peace, why not disarm completely? Because the galaxy is dangerous, and not every species will respect our boundaries. We kept our weapons as a last resort, to be used only in defense of our home. And we kept them as a reminder of what? Of what we could become again. The weapons are not just our protection. They are a warning to ourselves. Every time we train with them, every time we maintain them, we remember the terrible things we did when we used them without restraint. Chun turned off the display and faced the Emperor directly. You have a choice now, Emperor Dassalan. The same choice we made long ago. You can continue down your current path, conquering and destroying until someone finally stops you. Or you can choose something different. And what would that be? Partnership, alliance, a true joining of our peoples, not as master and servant, but as equals. Dassalan laughed, but there was no humor in it. Equals? After you destroyed my fleet? After you humiliated me before the entire galaxy? We gave your fleet every chance to retreat. We offered them mercy at every stage. When they would not stop, we disabled them as gently as we could. Your soldiers are alive, Emperor. 8,000 ships full of your people, waiting to come home. Chum stepped closer, close enough that she could have reached out and touched him. We do not want to destroy your empire. We want to help you transform it. Your people have strength and discipline and ambition. Those are not weaknesses. But right now, you use them only for conquest. Imagine what you could achieve if you turned that energy toward building instead of destroying. The Emperor was silent for a long moment. His mind raced through possibilities, calculating advantages and disadvantages, searching for the trap he was certain must exist. Why? He finally asked. Why would you help us? We attacked you. We ignored your warnings. We tried to conquer your home. Because we remember what it was like to be you, Chun said softly. We remember the hunger for expansion, the pride that would not allow retreat, the fear that any sign of weakness would bring enemies down upon us. We were you, Emperor. And someone gave us the chance to become something better. Who? Chun smiled sadly. A species called the Wanderers. They were ancient when we were young, wise when we were foolish. They could have destroyed us when we first reached the stars. Instead, they showed us patience. They showed us mercy. And when we finally chose to change, they welcomed us as friends. Where are they now? Gone. They faded away long ago, their work complete. But before they left, they asked us to continue what they started, to watch for young species with the potential for something greater, to offer them the choice they once offered us. Chun reached out her hand. This is that choice, Emperor. You can take my hand and begin building something new. Or you can refuse and return to war. If you choose war, we will defend ourselves. We will destroy your fleets and your armies. We will break your empire into pieces and scatter them across the galaxy. We do not want to do this, but we will if we must. But if you choose peace, if you choose to grow instead of conquer, we will be with you every step of the way. We will share our knowledge, our technology, our wisdom. We will help you become what you were always meant to be. Dassalon stared at her outstretched hand. 900 years of conquest. 12,000 years of imperial history. Everything he had ever known told him to reject this offer, to fight until the bitter end, to never surrender. But something had changed. Somewhere between watching his fleet burn and facing this small, old woman who held the power to destroy him, something inside him had shifted. He thought about the museum on that abandoned world. The 17 display cases, each one holding the remains of a species that had chosen war. The 18th case, waiting for the Empire. He thought about the battle at Earth, the precision of the human attacks, the care they took to preserve life, even while destroying ships, the mercy they had shown to enemies who deserved none. And he thought about his empire. The countless worlds ground under imperial rule. The species broken and subjugated. The endless cycle of conquest and rebellion and reconquest. Was this truly what he wanted to leave behind? A legacy of blood and fire, remembered only for the destruction it caused? Or could there be something more? Slowly, carefully, Emperor Dassalon the Undying reached out and took Speaker Chun's hand. "Teach us," he said quietly. "Show us how to become what you are." Chun smiled, and for the first time since she had Ari,